Avowed is the first AAA game developed by Obsidian with publisher Xbox Games, and boy, did they make a game. Avowed was originally pitched to be similar to Skyrim. The first CGI trailer that we saw gave everyone that idea. First person view, sword in one hand, spell in the other. Yeah, definitely Skyrim. That was the case, but soon after Obsidian backpedaled because apparently they thought that they couldn't make a game as good as Skyrim and wanted to focus on what Obsidian did best, which was storytelling. Which, I get it, they do make amazing stories, but they also create great games to go with that story, so they wouldn't just abandon amazing core gameplay elements, right? Well, I played through about 20 hours of Avowed, and yes, the story is fantastic, the plot is interesting, the characters are compelling, but the game is just not fun. I feel like CEO Urquhart took the whole stay in our lane thing a bit too far and gutted everything Avowed could have had. The game literally looks and plays like how Skyrim would. First person, high fantasy, the same simple hit and block style of combat. So why would they just give up partway through to focus only on storytelling? The game feels lackluster and superficial in all its components, from combat, stealth, crafting, side missions, and even their puzzles. A lot of this could also be due to the fact that we have a completely new directing staff on the game, but damn, did they miss the mark, especially with Obsidian's first ever AAA game. That's not a good look. So Avowed allows you to play in either a first or third person perspective. I tried playing in first person for an hour or so, but eventually I got motion sick. So after having to stop for a couple hours, I came back to it in third person for the rest of the playthrough, which definitely had an impact on gameplay for me for the rest of my experience. Combat in Avowed is definitely reminiscent of Skyrim. You have plenty of options in terms of weapons. You got swords, spears, axes, daggers, guns, wands, and we also have offhand equipment like shields and grimoires. Grimoires hold 4 different spells, all of which use essence, our energy source for those spells. It's also important to collect different types of grimoires because we're able to unlock those spells permanently in the wizard skill tree as long as we have the right grimoire on us. So we have the simple light attack and heavy attack. Blocking is only accessible to you only if you have one melee weapon equipped or have a shield. We can dodge as well, and all of these actions use stamina, and if you don't level up resolve to increase your stamina pool, you're gonna have a bad time. If you're an avid player of combat focused games like Devil May Cry or Dark Souls, then you'll probably wonder if there's a parry in this game. And yeah, there is a parry, but you don't have it unlocked at the start of the game. Instead, you have to unlock that skill in the Ranger tree. Why the Ranger tree? I don't know. Speaking of skill trees, it is very simple. There's 3 different classes, Warrior, Ranger, and Wizard, with different skills and passives in them. We can dump points in any of these trees and mix and match if we want, but that's as far as the depth goes for building your character. It's very bare, in my opinion. And then there's the Godlike tree, which is the special abilities we get as the main character, which is fine. My final thoughts on combat? I don't like it. I find it to be extremely superficial, bland, and annoying, especially when you have to face waves of enemies coming at you in every direction. Playing as a wand and grimoire wizard, I especially found it annoying trying to cast spells when a whole mob of enemies rush you. You would dodge, think you're safe and cast, nope. Dodge again, run out of stamina, get smacked and piled on until you can jump out of that mob to cast. You get your fireball off. Wait, there's a skeleton priest and he healed everyone to max. Wait, why do skeletons have a healer? Who knows? We have to kill him though. Oh wait, he's literally Usain Bolt sprinting away fast as hell. So we have to chase him down and catch him while he's casting another heal. And this gets exhausting, especially as a wizard when we run out of essence. Yeah, we can top up again with a potion, but that's limited and we don't want to run out, do we? I had a lot of spells at my disposal and what I thought was a big enough pool of essence to use them all. Boy, was I wrong. I was only on normal difficulty, and most of my encounters I had during quests were noted to be at my level, but I still felt that the time to kill these enemies were too long, especially for a wizard with spells that cost way too much essence for the amount of damage they deal. Our companions also have abilities that we can command them to use too. They each have 3 active abilities and 1 passive, and that's pretty much it. Each companion has a special thing they can do. Kai is a sort of tank, Giada is a healer. You get the idea. It kind of reminds me of Dragon Age Veilguard with how lackluster they are in combat. You're going to hear me repeat it time and again, but this game is filled with things with no depth to them, just bare bones implementation. Also, since I played in third person, whenever you have a barrier up, especially Giada's barrier, it literally blocks half the screen, so I had a problem seeing what was in front of me. Enemy winding up to hit me? I don't know, I can't see. Another mechanic that Avowed has is stealth. Well, as in we can crouch, and there are also random tall grass that we can hide in, as well as a sneak attack that may or may not kill an enemy in one go. Problem is, that's as deep as the stealth mechanic gets. It seems like they had every intention to flesh this out with all the tools you would expect from a stealth mechanic, but since they decided to step away from going full on Skyrim, they left us with the barest of bones for sneaking. Especially the takedown. It's literally one use because you, for some god-awful reason, have to scream out a spell name to summon that blue halo blade to stab a dude, and the rest of his friends are alerted to your presence, so combat starts immediately. Sneaking is only there to get one free attack, and that's it. There was a quest where they mentioned you could solve peacefully by not killing any of the queen's guards and just reaching her location to talk to her, but with how badly the stealth mechanic was implemented, there's no way to truly get to her without any killing. I know, because I tried. There's no way to distract the enemies, there's no tools you can use to hide other than the sparsely spread out tall grass. After I got caught, I just ran straight to her, avoiding everyone without killing anyone, but she was still pissed anyways, and we still had to fight. If you're not going to do anything with this mechanic, then don't even put it in. Get rid of it. It's useless other than for that one free kill. There's also a lockpicking thing, but no minigame attached to it. You just need the right amount of lockpicks to open the chest. That's about it. Why even have that? So when I started the game, I wanted to focus first on moving through the main story before tackling some of the side content. And I was doing fine up until the part where we have to visit the slums to look for some slimy poison seller. To that point, I didn't think anything of the difficulty of the fights because they felt pretty easy. But when I got to the slums fighting the boss of the gangsters, I kept wondering to myself, why is this guy hitting me so hard? I burned through all my potions I collected and I was dealing tiny blinks of damage to him. Of course, I eventually killed him with some health to spare, but I got confused as to why the difficulty jumped so high when I barely got that far into the main story quest. I see a bit of balance issue here, especially if the difficulty changes too rapidly. Obviously, I saw the skull icons, but I knew I could still complete the fight. It just ended up with me using all of my resources, which was kind of insane. After some digging, I learned that the enemies scale based off your current level and the level of your gear, which jump started me on completing side content and exploring mainly to farm for materials. Even though I could beat enemies with 3 skulls on them, that was only possible if I had enough potions, and I had just run out, so I needed to get more potions and get better gear. So I grabbed some side quests, and to my surprise, they were pretty fleshed out. All of it was voiced, and the dialogue didn't feel bad to listen to. The voice acting was fine, and their stories felt believable, but I do have a complaint. I remember the developers saying that the companions will be an important part to our experience of the game. But man, the companions chime in every single dialogue with everyone. Sometimes they would say something and the NPC wouldn't even register their comment and ignore them. At that point, why even bother making them say anything? They talk a bit way too much and could do with a bit of reduction in interruption because it kind of just ruins the flow of the conversation between me and the NPC. But okay, about the side quests themselves. It started with killing X number of enemies and collecting items from someplace somewhere far away until I started a side quest that brought me into a dungeon to look for someone's brother. And this was great. It was very fleshed out with its own lore, antagonists, and choices for the main character to make. I was very impressed by the amount of work they put into this one side quest, so it did make me look forward to the rest of the missions that the game had to offer. But I think this was the only really good side mission I found in the game. So by the time I collected enough material and finished a majority of the side content in the first area to take a break, Obsidian came out with a patch update the same day and changed the scale and difficulty gap between our level and each of the skulled enemies. So where our attacks were just bouncing off, barely tickling them, they now do a decent amount of damage for the gap in level, and they didn't outright obliterate us after 2 hits. That was a nice change, and I could see that the developers definitely cared about the game and wanted to make it better. Now, that didn't stop me from trying out their crafting system though. Well, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't call it crafting because it's more of an enhancement system. You can't craft your own gear, only find them. There are also special unique items littered everywhere in the world that you can find through side quests and just in the world, which is very nice. These unique items can be improved a tier higher than regular items, of course, but that's it. Just like the rest of the game, the system is still very superficial. Find material, upgrade the gear, rinse and repeat in each area as you find better material in each coming zone. And do note that the materials are pretty sparse, so don't expect to upgrade all of your weapons and all of your armor. It's kind of a pain finding enough materials, but I don't know, maybe it's a balancing thing. Now, we also have an enchantment system, which gives some unique items a new passive, but that's about it. Just one passive, as far as I can tell. This was just another superficially implemented system, and it feels like it doesn't even need to be in the game at all. Now, I do want to talk about the world design and the graphics for a bit. The game looks amazing. I believe they used Unreal Engine 5 and they did a great job using it because the characters in the world itself looks like they belong together. I enjoyed every aspect of the designs in each area, from forest to mushroom jungle and even a desert biome, which felt very fleshed out. Dungeons were interestingly crafted and foliage was pretty cool too. Now, what felt weird was the random obstacles and the gates that the developers put in different areas to hide treasure and to artificially slow us down. One example is the bramble vines that needs fire to clear away. Sure, I can see this being a useful tool, but they did a bad job implementing it. They would just toss these barriers around anywhere and put a fire grenade fruit for us to use right next to it. If you're going to put the solution right next to the problem, then why would you put that problem there in the first place? Now, how about the characters themselves? I've way too often found the same model and face for a character on multiple NPCs in the same area, sometimes up to 4 of them in the same city. I mean, yeah, one city had twins, but seriously, they really did not even try to create more than 5 models for NPCs. Is it laziness? Budgeting restraints? I mean, I guess Xbox didn't give them enough money. Also, oh god, their mouths are huge. But okay, so what about the overall main story? The thing that is their lane, their main focus. I thought it was decent. The game director is a career writer, so I believe she could help direct this game to have a strong narrative. I did, however, felt like I was playing Baldur's Gate 3 sometimes whenever we get those dream sequences talking to the voice. I don't know if that was just me or not. We have some strange thing inside our body, something that's talking to us in our heads randomly and in dreams. It gives us special powers. I don't know. It's a little coinky dink, huh? To conclude my entire thoughts and feeling, I could sum it all up in one word: superficial. There are a lot of mechanics thrown into Avowed that were left as is, without any more substance put into them. Combat is way too simple, riddled with problems. Enemy melee attacks home into you. Parry is stuck in a ranger skill tree. There's only actually 3 classes. Magic doesn't make sense with its essence to damage ratio. Stealth is lackluster with only a crouch, tall grass, and one semi-dangerous takedown that forces you to scream out to everyone that you're there. You can craft food, but only enhance gear and enchant some unique items. I'm not sure what happened during development that made them avoid fleshing out any of these elements, but whether it be time constraints, lack of budget, or lack of ability, they failed to create any system that was compelling and enjoyable. Yes, they switched their focus to create a more compelling narrative, but this is a video game first and foremost, not a book. If you wanted to create something with just a narrative, you should have just written a novel. I don't get why they couldn't make these systems better either. We literally had the Outer Worlds to reference off of. I'm sure some of the staff that worked on that game are still at the company, but I guess they were still busy working on Outer Worlds too. So how did Avowed become like this? I believe that a person who drives the car and crashes into the pole is the one still at fault. Carrie Patel had been put into position of game director for Avowed, the first AAA game to come out by Obsidian, being published by Microsoft. Was this the best game to make her helm when her only other experience as a game director is creating a DLC for Outer Worlds? There's a huge difference between making a DLC where the systems of the game are already created and all you need to do was create something off of it, versus creating a whole new game with their own core mechanics from scratch. Even the gameplay director and gameplay design director were new to the positions, so it's no wonder that the game turned out as it did. Now, I don't blame Obsidian for having Carrie Patel and her new directing team take on the job of Avowed. Obsidian has been in business for 20 years. Tim Kaine, creator of Fallout and co-director of Outer Worlds, is semi-retired. John Sawyer, the mad genius behind Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2, Fallout New Vegas, and even Pentiment, is off doing who knows what. Either he's retiring soon or he's working on some amazing project that we'll hopefully hear about soon. Leonard Barsky was the other co-director for Outer Worlds, but I'm not sure how well he'd do by himself without Tim Kaine. I'm not saying he's a bad director, I'm saying he hasn't proven himself. So with all of these amazing directing talents pretty much silent, Obsidian had to bring up new talent into the role and give them the chance to make experiences that they needed. Unfortunately, it had to be the first AAA game for Obsidian, which probably put a lot of pressure on Carrie Patel and her team. Do I think Carrie Patel was right for the job? I personally don't think so. Not yet anyways. Sure, she had experience as a DLC maker, but making a game at this scale from scratch is a tall order, and I don't believe she was ready. Pretty obvious from what we see with Avowed. Now, whether or not she's able to learn from this and improve immensely, or if this is all she'll be capable of, I hope they figure it out soon and bring up different talents in the role if needed. She's definitely a good writer though, but Avowed, not worth $70. Money I feel I wasted, and I do regret buying this game. This is not a AAA game, this is a AA game. Outer Worlds was a way better experience than this, and that was only a AA game too. But that's all I got. Thanks for getting this far. Let me know down in the comments how you feel about the game. You like it, you don't like it. Do you see a future for Avowed? I don't know. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.
世界